For this project, I briefly mention the periods of slavery and Jim Crow, but I will mainly focus on the era of mass incarceration, which spans from the mid-20th century to the present day. The state-sanctioned subjugation of black people did not end with slavery. The procedure and reasoning behind it just changed. It continued with penal farms during the Jim Crow era South, where blacks were exploited for their labor until the mid-20th century. While Kant argued the institutional subjugation of blacks for their labor turned into state-sanctioned warehousing in prisons into what we now know today as mass incarceration, I must disagree. African Americans are still being exploited for their labor to this day, just as they have been throughout this country's history. That is why, in my opinion, the prison system must be destroyed and built again from the ground up, because now it is nothing but modern-day slavery, where black people are still being subjugated for their labor. In the late 1960s, we began to see the steady increase of those incarcerated. A disproportionate amount of those individuals are black. While we already know that black people are the most affected by mass incarceration, it is important to point out that since black people are the largest represented group in prison, they are also the most active in the prison industrial complex, where they work for pennies, and these large companies make profits from their labor. There are even some states where prisoners are not paid for their work. Some of these states include Texas, Arkansas, and Georgia. As we can see, just like most prisons, their racial demographics are majority black. These black prisoners are providing slave labor for these prisons and companies who profit from their work. A few mainstream companies that use prison labor are Whole Foods, who since 2011 has benefited from inmate labor, purchasing food from Haystack Mountain Goat Dairy and Quixotic Farming, two private vendors who use cheap prison labor to raise fish and milk and herd goats. McDonald's, who use inmates to produce frozen foods. Inmates process beef for patties. They may also process bread, milk, and chicken products. Walmart, the company uses inmates for manufacturing purposes. The company quote-unquote hires inmates to clean products of UPC barcodes so that products can be resold. Starbucks uses inmates to cut costs as well. Starbucks subcontractor Signature Packaging Solutions hired Washington State prisoners to package holiday coffees. Lastly, Victoria's Secret. The company uses inmates to cut production costs. In South Carolina, female inmates were used to sew products. Also, inmates reportedly have been used to replace Made in tags with Made in US tags. Fortunately, there is work being done to end this new form of slavery, even within the prisons themselves. In 2016, a nationwide prison strike occurred. Prisoners across the country protested against low payments and cruel punishments that they faced. They protested by not working, participating in hunger strikes, and in some cases, violence. There were many people who participated in the strike inside and outside of prison. The strike occurred in 24 states with over 24,000 prisoners participating in the strike within 29 prisons. It is important to realize whatever these individuals have done to be placed into prison, they are still humans. I feel that is something that is forgotten about incarcerated individuals. Slavery officially ended on December 6, 1865. It has been 150 plus years, and we still see black people being exploited for their labor by institutions in this state of white supremacy. The subjugation of black people did not end, as Kant said, with the black ghettos in the 1960s and 70s, but it has continued today in our prison system, and slavery has just been given a new name of mass incarceration.